Now, you're both angels.
Yes.
You're both angel investors. You've mentored people. Talk a little bit about that experience and how that's been for you. Anything, companies you're particularly excited about, whether in healthcare, out of healthcare.
It's been great. We started by spending a lot of time mentoring. It kept us, really kept us young and energetic, working with a lot of other founders, working through their challenges, kept reminding us every day of our culture, of our beginnings, and really we still operate as a startup for all intents and purposes, with, of course, by a little bit more HR rules, but still no dress code, still very flex atmosphere, and working with people really gave us a lot of different perspectives.
So like what kind of companies you've been working with?
So we've been working with a lot in healthcare, a lot in media. In Chicago, and specifically out of Northwestern, working with 2 companies. One of them using AI to build bears that educates children on diabetes care.
Oh, I know these guys.
Sproutel?
Hannah and Aaron
Yeah,
out of
sure.
Northwestern.
I saw them at a trustee meeting, and then they're great.
Yeah, so they're in Rhode Island right now, working with through one of the programs there.
This is really interesting because you talk about building hardware. They built the hardware into the bear, and you're really seeing. They worked in the fabrication places up there. You're seeing a lot. It's something we're seeing a lot more of early stages. People thinking about it as software, but the fusion of hardware and software.
Yeah. Right.
And they have a really interesting thing for.
Right. And that's really been. We work with a lot of companies that again are very unsexy businesses, like ours, that are working through acquisition, are working through two-sided markets. We work with Bucket Feet is another company. Again, manufacturing, not something that initially people say, yeah, let's put money into this. They'll build great shoes. Phenomenal guys. Swipe Sense is another company, again, purple. I feel like I'm mentioning a lot of purple companies.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit that I feel like it's history in the making in Chicago right now. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of work in building a company, but we can't resist getting involved in the community. I mean, what Kevin's doing, what all these guys are doing, this is going to exist 10 or 20 years from now, and it didn't exist 3 years ago. This is that period where it was all made and the city's changing, and it's just like, you'd be crazy not to be part of it.
It is 1871. What the CEC is doing here is unbelievable. It's, you're an investor along with us. I'm on the investment committee of I2A. We're seeing some great companies. It's interesting. So I started our first company 10 years ago, and it was like the Stone Age. I mean, there was nothing. It was. We started our second company in 2010, and we sort of applied everything you learned the first time, and it's gone. Well, it's gone really well. It's only in the last 12 months we felt it. We were in Austin as well. We had a tech center in Austin, and that you could feel that sooner, and now we're really feeling it. And Incisive Labs, which presents this, that's where we start our companies, and they kind of spin out. And the third business we're starting is sort of a B2C application of our technologies. It's a completely different world. It's like we landed on a different planet from two and a half years ago. The excitement, the buzz, the number of things happening. We're in a community that we would have only dreamt of just a few years back, and I think it's right to say it's a historic time. And what's amazing is you'd think that this would make it harder to hire, but I actually think there's more good people now, and we're looking all the time, but it's more good people now because these things beget each other. Where 2 years ago we were in Austin because it was the only place we could hire fast enough to help the second company grow. Now I think we could do it all here. Which is amazing because you think as it gets bigger, it proliferates, you think it'd be more scarce. But it really is a fantastically exciting time. Any companies for you want to put on the list of Chicago companies?
We've done 7 deals this year, and we're just fans. We're learning how to invest. We're entrepreneurs. We're not professional investors, so we've gotten good tutoring. I see Kapil back there. We've learned a lot from him at I2A, who all of you guys should go talk to, which Pat's involved in too if you're looking for funding. But we're learning, and that's a big part. We're supporting and we're learning, and those are 2 big reasons why we are angels.
All right, please go ahead. Who would your short list be if in 2 years we have great Chicago startups up here to tell their story?
Yeah.
At Founder Stories, who's on your short list of ones that you think, boy, these guys could really have?
Yeah. So I'll share maybe 2 with you.
Please.
ShiftGig is the last company that we actually directly invested in. I don't know how many of you guys have heard of ShiftGig, but I think it's a company that could be one of the biggest companies that come out of Chicago.
We just invested at I2A.
Yeah, I2A, yeah, and we're really interested in employment. because I don't know how you could be young and not interested in employment right now. It's a huge global issue. How are we going to get people into jobs that they enjoy doing, that they're going to be good at, and are productive? And the simple stat there was, if you look at young people, and there's a certain age band that they look at, 87% I think are on Facebook, but like 13% are on LinkedIn. And so, what are they using to find these opportunities? And so we thought that was a really big idea. We were impressed with how fast they were growing. I'll give you another one. Another one's bucket feet, right? So this is a story that I loved because it was so community-oriented. John Hosley at Silicon Valley Bank called us and said, you should look at this. And he was like, it has nothing to do with healthcare or media, but the entrepreneur is awesome, and I think you guys will like it. So we looked at it, and the entrepreneur was awesome. He was going to India to get married in 2 weeks, and we closed out his seed round for him. And I woke up that morning, and if you told me we were going to invest, and we decided pretty much on the spot to do it, if you told us that we were going to invest in a company that makes shoes, I'd say you're crazy, Like, why would I make shoes? That doesn't sound very profitable or important or necessary. I don't know anything about it. And we were just floored. It's going to be, I think, one of our best investments out there. And the reason I want to illustrate that one is I think Chicago can be a place that makes real-world companies that we're entrepreneurs who are crazy enough to do something that not everybody is doing, or that doesn't immediately strike everybody as an obvious idea. That's obvious to them. There's some passion there. I think Chicago is turning into a place where you can do that. And that's what held us back 6 years ago a bit, right? It was not the prescribed thing you should be doing if you were our age, dropping out to do a company. And that diversity is important to a startup ecosystem. And so we like supporting entrepreneurs that
I have high aspirations for you. I'm going to go tell Morty Shapiro you're going to be Northwestern's, Mark Zuckerberg. So
maybe not this company, but
no, it's great. But I think it's exciting. There's Logan and I talked about the Y Combinator post for Paul Graham on black swan farming.
Yeah.
And it's the idea that the best companies are the ones that aren't obviously great companies.
Yeah.
And Chicago, it's interesting to hear you say Chicago is a great place to do that kind of thing.
Well, and for great entrepreneurs, because the common theme behind our companies is we thought in the beginning we were going to do healthcare and education and media, because that's what we knew something about. That's where our network was. And then as we got into it, we just thought, you know what? The person running the company, and there's a lot we look for within that person, that is the most important thing. And then we look at social utility of the product. Is this something that the world would be better off? Is it worth putting our capital at risk and fighting in the trenches alongside this person? Are they fighting for good? And who are they, right? Because we really believe that it's about that leader. And so we're leadership-centric, purpose-centric, but we've been flexible around those two things, which was new. We didn't expect to be. And that's what I think Chicago can be, a place where the best entrepreneurs can make anything happen. And there's something to that. There's a grit, a work ethic here that I think is helpful there too.
That's great.
I think it's also really timing and personality. I'm living part-time in New York and advising a lot of companies there as well. And every time I talk to someone, they're like, we need X, Y, Z. We have no idea where to go. And so invariably, I end up connecting them back to resources in Chicago. I've made more connections in the past 1 month, Chicago to New York to Chicago, than probably. And it's really what we have here is really unique. And Brad Feld was here recently talking about, again, building an ecosystem, building a community. And we actually have that's being built. And I personally feel honored to be participating in it, whether it's through mentoring, whether it's as an entrepreneur, as an investor. It really is something great that, kind of the power of one-on-one coming together to be 11, and really everyone learning from each other, having an ecosystem, having resources, whether it's an accounting firm, legal firm, whether it's advisors, whether it's mentors, whether it's entrepreneurs looking to give back. I think it really is an environment, a culture where people are as excited about giving as they're taking. Mm-hmm. And that's unique to Chicago. Mm-hmm. You don't see that in a lot of cities. A lot of cities are like, well, what do I get out of this? What do I gain? Do I get equity for being an advisor? It's very individual thinking. And I think Chicago by nature is a very community thinking. It's, what do we do together? And I think that's what's really unique. And, I've had that perspective, but living in New York, I love New York, love the energy, but there's something very, very lovable about Chicago. And I think that's one of the unique aspects of it.
Well put, well put. Well, what a great story. I can't wait to see the next chapters. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you
guys
guys.
are terrific.
Thank you.